today I wanted to kind of keep the same type of subject and talk about different kits and all of that stuff, and different types of, everybody's different. And I think that's kind of what Sky was talking about in that video too. Everyone's needs are different, and everyone's going to have different supplies. And then you've got the different kits, and there's so many. There's not one size fits all for everybody. And that's kind of what this article goes through as well. So what are your thoughts on, first of all, I guess you've got the first aid kits, you've got the everyday carry kits, you've got the bug out bags, you got the go bags and all of that stuff. I mean, what are your thoughts on, and I think we've talked about this before, where how many, do you need? Do you need a bug out bag? Do you need a get home bag? Do you need an everyday carry kit? Stuff like that.
No, to each their own, man. I think you really only need one bag. People, I'm never coming home. So how much, again, if you're never coming home, how much weight are you carrying on your back? I think ultimately it should be weight driven. It should be ability driven. It should be needs driven. If you look at the military or other places that they have packing lists, this is what you will have. Here's all your essential equipment, and you can kind of fidget in there a little bit to see what you need. But I think that there's a pretty standardized list that most people will have somewhat similar stuff. If you're talking about you're going to be out hoofing it, well, you need socks. You need to take care of your feet and all that. How many people put their foot powder in there? How many people have, hey, I have a rag or two so I can wash my feet. You can wash your junk, right? You wash your pits. Like, that stuff will be debilitating if you don't manage that stuff. So understanding that, I think there's some basic things that you need across the board, and then tweak it. But, you have people that you see it in movies. I saw it in the military. People try to pack books. They pack a couple books. I'll have something to read. Okay. Like, you want to carry a couple pounds of books? No. And really, you're giving up room and weight for like books, right? Like, everything when it comes down to what do you pack is about room and weight, usefulness.
Yeah.
If it's not going to keep you alive or do whatever, you don't really have a need for it. Get like a little mini book or something. Maybe put some books on your phone or whatever. But the more stuff you add, solar panels and this and that, it's more weight that just drags you down. So be deliberate about what you pack.
Well, and in this article, I talk about urban versus rural prepping, and this kind of, it goes beyond that. That is just the basic, two different points of differentiation, but it goes beyond that because you need to prepare for your specific situation. So if you're suburban living in Georgia is going to be different than whether you are living out in the boonies in North Dakota, something like that. So pack what you're going to need given, the different seasons and all that stuff. And I think a lot of people understand that, hey, some people, like in an urban area, those wrenches to open up fire hydrants, the lock picks, stuff like that may be important. But to me out here, that it just wouldn't be important. I can out here, if I need to get into a place, I can find a rock and throw it through a window. That's my lock pick. But in an urban area, that may be, and I'm not talking about going into a place where people are occupying it. I'm talking about, say it's storming or something like that. You need to find a place to get inside and shelter or something like that. You got a set of lock picks, or maybe it's a convenience store that's been abandoned and you can't get in, and it's got, a few bags of chips in there. Stuff like that. So an urban person would have far different things in their bag than somebody that lives in a rural area.
Yeah. Well, I think too, again, this gets back to where you have to use your gear. Like, I can go put together a bag today because I lived out of a backpack for years, right? Like, I have a good idea of what it takes for me to live on. If you don't go out and practice it, then, because I guarantee you, when you put your backpack together and you go out and practice it, you're like, oh, I really don't need this. Or, hey, I really need this, but I don't have any space. What don't I need? Or what can I give up? Kind of thing. So I think it's one of those things you really need to use it. You really need to practice with it and try it out, because otherwise you're going to get out there and you're going to find out you got stupid stuff packed or not the right stuff. That's where you really hone in, like you said, like whether you're in an urban environment or a suburban environment or a rural environment, actually going out and using your stuff's where you're going to hone in on what you really need. And if it's not something you need, get rid of it. Yeah. You don't need it, right? That's extra stuff for you to carry. And it's not just where people are like, well, I could suck it up and I could walk for a long ways. Okay. What if you have to run for a little bit? Most of us probably suck at running, but now you have that extra weight. You got to move faster. Well, that's more weight is slowing you down across the board. You have people that like, I'm going to carry my 50 magazines for my M4 in my backpack. That's a lot of weight. I mean, we used to know, like, I can't remember anymore. I'm probably off, but I believe 100 rounds of belted 240 ammo, which is basically 308 ammo, 7.62 by 51 ammo, 100 rounds of belted ammunition weighed just over 6 pounds. Like, you measured that shit out. You knew how much it weighed because you're carrying it. And there was certain positions, like if you were the assistant machine gunner, the ammo bearer, that person's going to suck because you're going to load all kinds of ammunition up that person's backpack. Like, understanding that water weighs 8 pounds or so per gallon. Right. Knowing all this stuff, when you start looking at your weight, like with me, I was a heat casualty before a couple of times. So I have to pack extra water. I go through water fast. And so that's a big deal. Like, if people say, well, you need to keep your backpack to, like under 40 pounds, there's different numbers out there, different formulas and all that stuff. Well, I'm going to usually pack 1.5 gallons of water. So I'm looking at right there, probably 12 or 15 pounds, somewhere in that neighborhood of water I'm carrying. Mm-hmm. So what do you dial in on the other side of that? What do you change to accommodate that? And I can't get by without the water. So.
Yeah. And you, hey, before I get into this next part, just so everyone knows, Brian's on battery power still. So if his stuff dies before this video is over, you know why that happened. So I'll still be here though, and I'll say goodbye to everyone, but
it's either that or if an asteroid hit, you know what happened.
Yeah. But like you were kind of talking about with using it and understanding what you're going to need and what you're not going to need. In this part of the article, I talk about how you can call it whatever the hell you want. You can call it a bug out bag. You can call it an inch bag. And you can just call it your backpack, your go bag, whatever. My bug out bag basically is it's not just something that sits there. I use it constantly. It goes with me everywhere. I'm not constantly digging into it, but it is something that it goes with me and it gets used quite a bit. So I do need to make sure that everything that is in there is actually in there. Everything that I think is in there is actually going to be in there. But it is kind of important to use that stuff, but at the same time, be on top of it enough to, make sure if you are using that stuff that it is replenished, that nothing in there is expired and all of that stuff. So that's important as well. One more thing on these, and then I want to get into different types of bags, but you've got the gray man mentality. And I think Sky was talking about this as well with, it doesn't need to be, or she was alluding to this. She's not going to say it. She didn't say it exactly like I'm going to, but it doesn't need to be that camo 511 backpack or like my Yukon Outfitters, big old green bug out bag looking backpack with the water thing on it and everything, camel bag thing on it. It could be just a hiking backpack, those frame backpacks. If you're in an urban area, somewhere downtown, a regular backpack may be something that has you that looks like you're blending in. Maybe what you want. You're downtown and you've got one of those camo backpacks on, military backpacks. You're gonna look odd. You know what I mean? And if you're out in out in a rural area and you got a briefcase or something like that, you're gonna look odd. So kind of blend into your surroundings. What fits with you?
Yeah. I have 2 bags. I have like a bag, like my travel bag. It's an e-bag. It's made for traveling and like it has a computer spot and all this stuff in it, but it has like a nice, it's really compartmentalized, has a nice compartment for clothes. It has a hard case for electronics, has an area to carry like a toiletry kit that's pretty nice. Has area for papers and pens. So I use that as like my hasty go bag or my hasty bug out bag. Like I have enough stuff in that I could live out of that for a little bit. It's not ideal, but then I have a internal frame backpack, a smaller internal frame backpack. I don't recall the liters off the top of my head, that I keep loaded, ready to go. And I have like one of those really big rolling duffel bags from REI, right? Like kind of like the bags when you travel overseas. I used to use it for going overseas, big rolling duffel bag, very plain. I mean, it's nondescript looking, but that backpack can fit in there. I have a change of clothes, I like some Carhartt kind of heavy duty pants, a shirt sitting in there. I have a pair of boots and my socks and some other things all in that rolling duffel. So it's like, and I might have a firearm in there. So when I go somewhere, I can grab that entire rolling duffel and throw it in. And literally, if I'm driving around in my flip flops and my shorts and like how I normally dress, I know that something happens. All I have to do is go get in that rolling duffel bag, and I am head to toe set for whatever I need to get into at that point. And again, it has and even if I have my other backpack, I can kind of, okay, what can I keep and shift? But that backpack that's in that duffel bag, that bug out bag that's in the duffel bag, is 100% ready to go.
Yeah.
Right. So anywhere I go, if I want to grab it, I can throw it in the back of my truck, whatever, and I'm set. So that's kind of how I approach mine.
Yeah, I was looking up on my shelf. I have my little everyday carry kit, which is too far for me to reach right now. But since we are going to be doing that prepper show and tell kind of thing, maybe I'll pull that down in the future. Lisa, also, we had talked about this the other day. She's got this first aid kit for her horses, for her animals. Mm-hmm. I think that would be something cool, really cool, to have her come on this show and kind of show everybody what exactly she's got in there, because a first aid kit for her horses is not much different than for people, than a trauma kit for people, other than the quantity of what she's got in there. Because that's like, treating 5-6 people at one time.
But the dings and scratches and all that, kind of treat them the same, right? A cut in the skin's a cut in the skin. A hole in the body's a hole in the body, where it's a horse, a dog, or you. So it's kind of the same in a lot of ways.
Yeah. But it's just kind of cool. She shows exactly how much you go through a lot more of those first aid supplies than you think you will, even on a human, on a person. When it's a bigger wound like that, maybe even if it's not like a life-threatening one, but a larger cut or something like that, that you're debating on whether it needs stitches or not, something like that's going to go through a lot more stuff than you kind of think. Maybe we'll have her go through her main kit too, but but I mean, it just goes to show you there's a lot of different types of kits. With this, I think I forgot to mention too, if anybody wants to kind of slate themselves, like, hey, I'd like to share mine, next or whatever, or I've got something I'd like to show you guys, just send me an email to Dale at the Survival Preppers, or Dale at the survivalsprepper.net, whatever works. Send me an email and say, hey, I'd like to get next on the list. And then we can do this once a month if you guys want. I think it'd be a blast. Yeah.
And we are going to put these videos up in here, the videos, because we do this on YouTube, the videos will be through YouTube. So understand, when you get in there, if you have a lot of major privacy concerns and that's your jam about social media and being on, having these videos floating around, then take that into account when you sign up. It's obviously Dale and I live our life out here on this thing. So we don't have the same mindset. So I don't want anybody to get in there and go, oh, I didn't realize that we're putting this, because if it's in the bug out location, it's going to be on that video through YouTube. So.
Yeah. And we do make them unlisted, but just in case it does, somebody gets a hold of that link or something, and then it gets out there. But they are going to be on the bug out location just for members only. And it is going to be unlisted. So the average public isn't going to be able to get to it, but just keep that in mind. Yeah. If that is a concern for you, then, maybe you just watch. But if it's not a concern for you, you jump on and do that stuff, we'd be more than willing. We're going to do a couple of ours too. Although that may be on the main video, because that's just kind of what we do. We're on YouTube, so why not show everybody and all that stuff? But honestly, I mean, there's just so many different things. Like I said, I've got that everyday carry kit. We've got first aid kits. I've talked about the lights out kit that I have, which isn't a bag, but kits are cool because not only is it, that one place where you can keep everything organized, it's that quickly grab it when you have to go type situation. Whether you're talking about some sort of situation that's a bug out situation, or maybe it's just an evacuation situation, like a evacuation situation. Sounds like a police song.
Sounds like the start of a 1970s rock ballad or something.
Yeah. Or if it's just a situation like that where you got to get going. So you've got your lights. I've got my lights out kit. You've got, car kits and all. I mean, preppers love their kits. And there's a reason why. If we can get just a few of these things, instead of having to run around like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to figure out where everything is, you got your important documents in one place. You got some, food that you're going to take mobile, those packages of MREs or whatever it is. You've got that stuff. You can just fill up your car, your truck real quick, 5-10 minutes, and you're out of there and you've got everything that you need. So I think that's why preppers love our kits.
If you're doing that, practice putting your stuff in the car. Have your kit, know which kits go in, which boxes go in. So that way something happens, it's like, hey, box 1, 2, 3, and 4, load them in the car and off we roll kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
there's stuff you can
step.
What's that?
I said, take it to the next step. Just don't put the kits and let them sit. Actually go, what do I need to go to leave to get out of the house? Like me with my rolling duffel bag, there's one thing. Okay. Now what do I have? Fortunately for me, when I worked overseas, I ended up they used to give me Pelican cases. Like, the Pope gives away holy water. And so I got all kinds of great boxes that can fit together, but have your stuff set up so that way exactly what's going. And hey, and have those boxes in order of priority. Like, this is the one thing I have to grab of anything. And then number 2, number 3, number 4. So maybe if the one thing's the only thing you can grab, or maybe something happens to your car and you're jumping in the back of someone else's car, all you can bring is the one thing. Have a prioritization to that. So about that in advance.
Yeah. Another thing with that too is you can't really keep everything in one spot. Like, there's some stuff you can keep in the garage that you don't need to keep in your home. And depending on how much storage space anyway, there's some stuff like food, perishable stuff that you don't want to keep out in the garage. At least we don't out here anyway, because of the temperature swings and all of that stuff. So that's why I think it's important that you kind of practice that evacuation stuff a little bit, because then boom, I got to get this, boom, I got to get this, boom, I got to get that. And then you can go through that and say, okay, we forgot this, we forgot that, we forgot the kids, we got everything else, but we forgot the kids, all of that stuff. So then you can kind of reassess your plan, go through it again, or maybe even have that sheet of paper like you were talking about that has that list of things that you need, the priorities and all that. You grab that sheet of paper and then you run around your house like a chicken with a head cut off, getting all that stuff into the car. A little checklist.
Oh, take your stuff and have a weekend where you go camping for the weekend and go, all right, we're you can have it planned, but say, hey, we're leaving at 5 o'clock. And at 5 o'clock on Friday, you're camping out of all the stuff that you have, all your preps. That's what you're going to use for the weekend. Throw it in the back of the car and go and see how it goes. And if you're someone that's not into camping, well, then why do you have a fucking bug out bag that you can go out to the woods with? Like, I get that you're not into camping. I hate sleeping with the bugs. I hate sleeping on the ground. That was cool when I was young. I'm not too into it anymore. And if you're prepping for that and you're saying, well, I might have to do this, then you should probably do it and practice it. Yeah. Regardless of if you like it or not. Because if what you're prepping for comes to pass, you're going to have to do it. And a couple of weekends here and there can teach you a lot about what that is. One weekend, you're going to learn a bunch. Like, again, what do you need? What don't you need? What makes sense? What doesn't make sense? Really good way to be.
Yeah. Or I never ever want to have to do that crap. So what types of steps can I take?
I'm going to dig my bunker. I'm never running away. Like, this is it. Hey, maybe that's it. Maybe you say,
time to buy more ammo.
Preppers aren't always spring chickens. We know that. And some of us are older. Maybe it's like, you know what? I'm going to fortify my house and stock it with as much food, and I'm going down with the ship, baby. I don't plan on leaving.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's your prep. That's your plan. That is a plan. That's better than most people ever have.
Yeah. Yeah.